I have a short version. Steve?
I guess what they find is.
See you around.
Was on the same letter as this, on the website. Oh. No. Are you that good?
Call a meeting at work. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation. If you'd like to speak to the council, please fill out a form and hand it to Shannon. Please indicate on the form if you wish to speak during the discussion on a specific agenda item. Remember, council members are not allowed to answer questions during public participation. Please state your name and address for the record. Do you have any minutes, Shannon?
Not for public participation, no ma'am.
Okay. Closed session. Pursuant to the Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551, the town council will recess into closed executive session and accordance with the Texas Government Code pursuant to the following. Number one, Section 551.071, consultation with town attorney to seek legal advice regarding agenda item H2. Time being 6:31, we're convening in the closed session.
It evolves and. I don't even tell them it's good. I'm gonna be talking.
Time being 6:46, we're convening an open session. Action will be taken when the item is discussed. Appointed representative liaison report, council will need to discuss. Denton County Emergency Service District Chief Fund.
Evening, Mayor, Council, Rick Bond, Fire Chief. For the month of May, we had a busy month as always. Seemed like it's, year just flies by, but we had a great turnout for our open house and memorial walk for the Officers Blood Drive. Also got the opportunity and privilege to come to y'all Spirit Day. Had a great time. I think y'all really had y'all had the better band. Enjoyed the fellowship, hanging out. It's always kind of good to kind of unwind and hang out with the community. So, for the month of May, we had a busy month. We had 369 calls, and 17 of those were in Bartonville. For the year, we've been probably rocking along about 3.5%. For some reason in May, we kind of hit a 6% increase. So, I don't know what happened, but, maybe it's been 31 days a month, we did say an increase in call volume. Lots of other activities going on. As we get into the summer, we've got all our summer activities for the kids. We've already did our electricity safety, we did blow up the hot dogs. We did our very first, water safety story time. We kind of talk about, the safety of drowning. And it is a big deal, especially in the early part of summer, kids are excited to get in the pool. So we did have that. And of course, we got our big event on snakes. I don't understand the fascination with snakes, but we do got that on July 11th. So
Did you hit on snakes?
I do not. I go, I watch, I take pictures, but they do their thing. I'm gonna do my thing. Should equal respect. The way I look at it. Other updates, we just hired a new position. It's an IT specialist position. When we were doing, we did a master plan for our staffing, long-term, and short-term staffing plan. And the commissioners approved and identified a couple of, areas we realized that we're growing. There's technology. I'm sure each of you are now having to do more and more classes on cybersecurity and technology and especially with AI. It's kind of fascinating how much impact AI has had on it, because you used to get pinged on your server every now and then, but AI can do it like 10 times a minute, it's like a bunch. So, we're just having to do more stuff with IT. We're relying more on IT, so we've got an IT specialist. We're also in the process, part of that plan was to hire a kind of a accountant specialist to kind of help our sports services chief with that. So a lot of good things are happening. The other good thing is I told you previously that we did our annual reports. We have a third-party auditor that audits all our finances, and that was taken to the county commissioner's court, where it was reviewed and approved by the commissioner's court. So, other than that, I can talk all evening, but I'll keep it brief and I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Chief?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Chief.
Police Department, May 2026 statistics, Chief Ashburn.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Total calls for service was 127. That was down from last month. Pretty low. The comparative traffic crashes, we had 7. 6 were on 407 and 1 was on High Meadow Court. We had a total of 7, which went down from last month of 12.
Is that all from Megan? Is that right here off of Megan?
Yes.
Trifecta. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We had 5 agency assist, 18 alarm commercial, 9 residential alarms, 5 animal complaints, 4 disturbance, 3 domestic disturbances, 3 911 hangups, 2 harassment, 6 juvenile complaints. We had 8 road blockage hazard. We had 8 suspicious person vehicle activity and 4 welfare concerns. On our uniform crime reporting, we had 2 Part 1 crimes. One was a sexual assault, the other one was larceny, which is going to be at the Kroger store. On officer initiated activity, we had 142 building checks, close patrols, 22 traffic complaints, radar enforcement, 228 traffic stops, and 23 walk-through business contacts for a total of 435. On miscellaneous information, upcoming events, we had community outreach. We participated in Career Day at EP Razor Elementary School along with ESD 1 Fire Department. We participated in such a truck event at Andy's Frozen Custard. We participated in Assistant Highland Village PD's Cruising for Champions event. That is for the Special Olympics. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
That's great that y'all are doing a lot of community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Involvement, yeah, appreciate that. Any questions?
I have one with the juvenile complaints, the six. What were those related to?
A couple of them probably scooters, little scooters.
The e-bike, e-scooter things that had the controller and all? Okay, that's what I was.
Any other questions for Chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, appreciate it. Administration, Shannon?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I begin discussing our May 2026 figures, I just wanted to give you a over summary of our bank balances as of today. Our general fund is $5,092,236, and the reserve balance as of today is $857,597. So we are growing our reserve, getting towards our goal of $1 million in there. For the reserve, for May, we had interest earned of $2,625, which brought our year-to-date total to $20,144, which tops the budget by $1,144 and surpasses last year's year-to-date total by $1,103. So putting that extra money transferred over is bringing up our interest earned. Do we have any questions before we move on?
Yeah, under the total revenue, item, the 203,000, what is that?
That is the interest plus our transfer of $187,000.
Okay, all right, that's what I was missing.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And for all general fund revenues, property tax revenue collected for May was $10,021. Totaling the year to date, $1,334,413, which surpasses our budget by $134,413, and last year's year to date total by $131,379. Sales tax collected for May was $122,115, bringing our year to date to $715,364. Representing an increase over last year by $65,600 at this time. Total revenue collected in May was $182,034, with a year to date at $2,593,941, which is an increase of $103,432 compared to this time last year. So all in all, revenue, we're doing really well. Any questions?
We're looking for 30%,
We want to have at least 34
30.
spent and then collected one. So yeah, we have collected 92% of our revenue. Very good.
Very good, all right.
Sales tax collections, as I mentioned on the previous slide, we brought in $112,115 for the month of May, which reflects March 2026 sales tax. So, and then that brings our 12-month average sales tax collection to now $86,507, which is an increase of $888 over last month. So that's where we're still ticking in the upward position. Any questions? Okay. So all general fund expenditures, for May, we have expended $197,615. Bringing our total expenses to date to be $1,608,956. And as Councilmember Crandall asked on a previous slide, we are at overall 37%. So we wanted to have at least 34% at month 8, and we are a little over that. That's overall, so we're really well healthy on the expenditure side as well. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Administration expenditures, we totaled $85,493,000 for the month of May, bringing the year to date to $815,494, which leaves a remaining budget of 41%. So administration is well above benchmark of 34%. Do you have any questions on this slide?
Capital improvements, which were kind of significantly over, I guess that's related to the
So,
unplanned septic that we did. Okay.
Yes, exactly. You should be, this should have been the last of the total, because the septic we paid for everything. Mhm. Okay, expenditures by the police department. For May, they spent $77,808, bringing their year-to-date expenses to $649,790. Which leaves them 30%, which is a little below the benchmark, but as we've been talking every month. We paid their contracts earlier in the month, we paid the insurance all at once. So that's gonna start evening out. The radios, that was the other. Anybody have any questions?
thank you for highlighting it. Thank
We're
you.
looking good.
This is a good presentation where you highlighted everything. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's just trying to make sure everybody gets to see what we're talking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right. Thank you, Shannon. Consent agenda. This agenda consists of non-controversial housekeeping items required by law. Items may be approved with the single motion. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by any council member by making such request prior to motions and a vote on the consent agenda. Number one, consider approval of the May 12, 2026 special meeting minutes. Number two, consider resolution voting for Jim Carter to the Denver area 911 district board of managers. Number three, consider approval of town participation in the task force model program pursuant to an agreement between the town of Bartonville, United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a component of Department of Homeland Security, and authorized execution of documents necessary for participation. Number four, ratify Councilmember Crandall's signature designating Mayor Carrington as the town of Bartonville's 2026 North Central Texas Council of Governments General Assembly designation of voting representatives. Do I have a motion?
Mouthful, but I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. H, public hearings and regular items. Conduct a public hearing to hear public comment, discuss and consider conditional use permit, site plan and properties on general commercial plan development. On block 2C, lot 1R of Carlisle Edition Phase C, an approximate 2.0549 acre tract of land situated in the Home Survey Abstract number 65, Town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. Property is nearly located at the northeastern corner of F 407 Bartonville Drive, Bartonville, Texas. The town of Bartonville file number for this application are CDP 2026-002 and SP 2026-001. Planning and zoning recommended approval with conditions by a vote of 5-0 at its June 3rd, 2026 meeting. Staff presentation, Ryan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's nice to see you all again. My name is Ryan Wells. I'm the town planner for the town of Bartonville. And I'll be giving the staff presentation for the Lantana Block 2C Lot 1R Chipotle conditional use permit and site plan. All right, so this is a conditional use permit request to authorize a drive-through restaurant in the general commercial PD zone. It also has a site plan to accompany that CUP application to permit the site design. This is required by the Bartonville zoning ordinance, section 16.8. A site plan has to accompany a CUP application. So the proposal is for a 2,450 square foot drive-through restaurant, which is part of a larger 8,400 square foot multi-tenant retail MTR building. And the applicant indicates that this particular drive-through is just a pickup window only. There's no speaker box or ordering on site. It's a pickup of orders that are sent through an app on the phone, and it's basically just a service window on the north side of the building. So the subject property is about 2.05 acres. It's part of the Lantana Town Center Plan Development and is located on the northeastern corner of FM 407 and Blanco Drive. Here's an aerial of the photo showing the proximity of the site to 407, Blanco, and the rest of the commercial development along the eastern side of the road. So within the Bartonville zoning ordinance, there are a number of listed criteria for approval or consideration of a conditional use permit. And they are as follows. The criterion is somewhat abridged, and then the staff findings are follow each one item. So number one is whether the CUP is consistent with the policies in the comprehensive plan. If you look at comprehensive plan objective 3.1, it advises the town to limit non-residential uses to nodal development along FM 407, the FM 407 corridor, and the McMakin Road East Jeter Road intersection. So, of course, this site is located on the 407 corridor on property already zoned for commercial development. Criterion number 2 is whether it's consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning district. So as just mentioned, the existing zoning of the property is general commercial as part of the Lantana PD. And that supports larger scale office, retail, and service uses intended to serve a regional consumer base. Excuse me. Criterion 3 for the CUP is whether the use is compatible with neighborhood and mitigates adverse impacts. So the location of the property along 407 provides for a regional customer base and is complementary to the surrounding commercial development. And as we'll talk about, there are a number of mitigations recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission that will help to reduce the anticipated impacts or possible impacts of the development to nearby residential uses. Number 4, that the project will not generate hazardous pedestrian or vehicular traffic. The site plan indicated on the left side of the screen shows that there is internal circulation adequate for vehicular and pedestrian traffic, including internal drive aisles and marked pedestrian crossings from the public right of way. Number 5 is that it incorporates measures to reduce or eliminate traffic on neighborhood streets. So while there are 4 access points onto the site from Blanco and 407, it's well anticipated that the primary access points are going to be on Blanco on the driveway opposite the Whataburger, as well as on 407. Criterion 6 is that it incorporates features to minimize adverse impacts on adjacent properties. So the applicant does indicate in their packet a screening wall to be installed along the northern property boundary adjacent to the residentially zoned property. We do have some recommended conditions of approval to further mitigate impacts to those neighboring property owners, including adjusting the wall design to meet the codified standard for those buffer walls, as well as the timing. And we'll get into the specifics of those conditions in a moment. There's also another condition of approval that was brought forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission to prohibit any speaker boxes on the site. So while this is a drive-through and not currently intended to include a speaker box, any future changes to that drive-through use would not allow any speaker boxes to be installed and increasing the noise impacts from the use. The criteria number 7 is that it meets the standards for the zoning district with any requested variations. We'll get into some of those details as we look at the site. So at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they made a unanimous recommendation of approval with conditions for the conditional use permit request. Moving on to the site plan, there are a number of criteria that we looked at from the zoning ordinance to evaluate the site plan. Number 1 is that the project has a harmonious design with adjacent uses. We made sure that they match the opposite driveway on Blanco from the Whataburger so that there are no offset accesses off of the public street. There's also a continuation of the commercial pattern along 407, including setbacks, general site design, so it's harmonious with the existing commercial corridor along 407. Criterion 2 is whether it provides safe and efficient vehicular and pedestrian system. Once again, it provides limited access to the site and marked pedestrian routes. There's also a condition regarding FM 407 access, which we'll talk about at the end of this presentation. Number 3 is that it provides adequate off-street parking facilities. The site plan shows that the site meets the town's minimum parking standards for the uses indicated for the site. And that includes all of the suites in the building, not just the drive-through. They're planning for all the future uses in the building as well. Criterion 4 is that whether it's designed to accommodate traffic and emergency response. We do have one recommended condition of approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission to ensure that the site meets the ESD design requirements, just related to a couple of the turning radii for the fire lane. Criterion 6 is that the landscaping provides adequate buffers. We reviewed and indicated that the site meets the landscaping requirements for phase 1. And again, that screening wall on the northern end of the property is going to provide additional buffering. Number 6, whether exterior lighting provides safety and minimizes glare. While the site does provide adequate lighting, we do have a condition of approval that we're recommending that will make sure that the site meets the lighting standards in the Bartonville zoning ordinance and doesn't impact neighboring residential properties. Number 7, protection and conservation of water courses. There is a condition of approval to protect the drainage swale adjacent to FN 407 by including a drainage easement on a future replat of the site. And finally, number 8, adequate utility capacity. It shows that it does meet minimum standards for providing utilities to the site, and that conditions of approval are allowed, which we've been talking about and we'll summarize here in a moment. So at the early June Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimously approval with conditions for the site plan. So as far as public notice goes, we met all the notice requirements in the Bartonville zoning ordinance, including the newspaper notice. 10 mailed notices were sent out to all the property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. And to date, we've received no written comments for those notices. So let's get into the conditions of approval. So for the conditional use permit, we have 2 recommended conditions. And just for the record, I do need to read them verbatim, so forgive me ahead of time. Number 1 is that the proposed screening fence on the north side of the property shall be installed prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the proposed building, and shall meet all design requirements found in Bartonville zoning ordinance section 13.3.c.14. A revised screening wall detail shall be reflected on a revised site plan to be reviewed and approved by town staff prior to issuance of a building permit. Condition number 2 is that no outside speaker box shall be allowed. And again, that's the additional condition introduced by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Moving on to the site plan conditions. Number 1, all parking area lighting shall be installed and operated so as not to reflect or shine on adjacent properties and in accordance with the standard established in EZO section 13.3.7 and chapter 28. Condition number 2, the trash receptacle shall be screened with an 8-foot tall screen constructed of masonry materials of like and similar materials to those of the primary structure. Condition 3 states that prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the proposed building, a replat of lot 1R, lot 2C, Carlisle addition, shall be approved by the town and recorded with the Denton County Clerk. This replat shall include the fire lane easement as depicted on the site plan, and a public drainage easement along the front or west side of the property encompassing the open drainage ditch along FN 407. Condition 4 is that all fire lane turn right radii shall be a minimum of 20 feet. That's what's actually in our code. This shall be reflected on a revised site plan to be reviewed and approved by town staff prior to issuance of a building permit. Condition 5, the driveway from the site onto FN 407 shall be a right in, right out with a raised pork chop directing ingress and egress. This shall be reflected on a revised site plan to be reviewed and approved by town staff prior to issuance of a building permit. And a pork chop is basically just a raised curve that's kind of triangular in shape that directs traffic one way or the other, and is kind of challenging to mount. And it can be done, but it's not good for your car. And finally, condition number 6, the applicant shall obtain a text dot 1058 driveway permit, a copy of which shall be provided to the town prior to the site construction. Final driveway location and design shall be subject to text dot determination. So the reason that this condition is on here is because A, the site is proposing a driveway onto a text dot facility that automatically requires what's called a 1058 permit. And B, the current driveway location is 265 feet from Blanco Drive. That is less than the town's adopted standard of 300 feet, but much less than the standard that TxDOT applies for driveway spacing on a road of this size and speed limit of 425 feet. So the presumption is that TxDOT, in reviewing their 1058 permit, would apply their standard, thereby moving the driveway to a further location from Blanco. The applicant has indicated that that may not be the case, that TxDOT might be interested in giving them a waiver. Nevertheless, TxDOT does have jurisdiction on 407, And so we would generally defer to them with the assumption that they're gonna apply their standards to the project.
And
That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
and test dot standard would supersede our.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's been my experience for many, many years.
But they may. or may-
Yeah, Mayor.
Any other questions for Ryan, or do we want to hear the applicant and then
Let's hear the applicant.
Michael?
Sure.
Michael, there's no question.
Thank you. Michael Harney with New Quest Properties with the developer on this tract. We don't have an issue with staff's comments or comment for the additional condition that came from the P and Z hearing. Happy to address any questions on the text side issue. We have gotten text side verbal approval. They just wanted us to get site plan approval from the city before, it's kind of had a lot of chickens and eggs going around. And so I think we're to the final point on that, so we'll be able to submit for the formal permit. We've already gotten kind of verbal approval. We did a quick little traffic analysis for text dot just to show them. I think one thing that the benefit is that there's a harder median out there on 407. As Ryan mentioned, even with the pork chop, there may be someone that still tries it, but you're gonna do some damage to your car to get some safety to hurt anyway. Did take the left instead of just going out to the light. We did, there's a little bit of jog on that drive, as you can see on the site plan, that was to address one text dot's concerns that will become a big cut through. So that's why I've added some, track bumps in there to kind of slow the traffic down. We kept it from just being a straight shot through there. Pushing it over another 35 feet or so to meet the 300 feet, then it gets to a point where it starts to get to be too tight of kind of S curve through there, because this area here will be another building in the probably near future will come with that site plan. So if it came in over here, the right and left, it would get really kind of tight, especially for fire trucks and for delivery trucks and those kind of things. Happy to address any questions. This is kind of continuation, really one of the last few parcels we have out there in Lantana. The architecture will be consistent with the other buildings we have out there. No problem with the, dumpster screening, that'll be the same. This one's a little more visible than some of the other ones, backed up to the golf courses and those kind of things, but, no problem with masonry material around the, dumpster. So.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. For county discussion regarding any of this?
Public comments first or?
No.
Okay. All right, one thing that gives me a little heartburn on this is that we do have a policy in place with 300. And we're going to proposing the 265, so that I always worry about setting precedent and how that's going to affect us in the future and violating our ordinance law. So that's a concern that I have, unless there is. And maybe this is something the fire department can speak to, if it creates a safety issue relative to our fire department. Maybe, but we have, my opinion, we have to have a pretty good reason to deviate from that. And I just want to get other council members' comments.
Is the issue that the driveways won't match? Or,
No,
the
the issue is we have an ordinance and we have to put
right,
minimum.
understand.
And once you start deviating from our ordinances, where does it stop? It's, the next one could come in and say, oh, we need 235.
If you go down and look at that piece of property, and when that field of drainage is, they're gonna lose about 85 to 90 foot inside and 407 because of that low area. If you go down and look at that where 265 foot mark is, that's plenty of room from Bartonville to the red line for traffic. It's not gonna be a tractor supply where you want people coming in, backing up, trying to get out, but they can only go in there on the right, you can only come out. The only concern that I would have on that is if you stick with the 265 and we determine that that's an option, would we not want to know what text the 1058 form is gonna do, because they're gonna supersede whatever we do anyway.
Well, that's true, but we need to I think we need to make this decision based on our ordinances, because we're being asked to make a decision based on Bartonville's ordinance, regardless of what TxDOT does. So I think the question would be, do you want to violate your own ordinance with 265 instead of the 300? So again, it's like Keith said, when you do that, you set a precedent for violating your ordinance. Do you have to do it for the next and the next and the next guy? So where do you stop?
And what is the issue of the developer needing that 265 instead of 300?
Yeah, what you need to determine is what the, is the 300.
Speaking to the mic.
Option.
You guys speak it up, Mike. Everybody can hear you. What were you saying, Carl?
I said, what you need to determine would be where that 300 foot lies on the plat. As to what it will do, how it will affect the future development of the property next to it, and supposedly with the 3 bids that are already gonna be there. So is it viable to move that road 35 foot down, and so will is that gonna affect the emergency service district, fire department, terms, get radius getting in there, and coming back out?
You want me to answer?
At what, at the P and Z, we had one that showed the adjacent box.
Yeah, I guess I can put it up. There you go.
Yeah, this week. So right here, we do have a proposed lease that we're working on, that would be a building that kind of fronts on this driveway and now right here. To the point where we're actually boxing in the ditch right here with the fresh water supply district, because their ditch is maybe things that's really the commercial flow coming from the top of the hill all the way down. So we're actually putting the box through here. But doing it on this part of the side of the multi-tenant building, you don't get the same thing, you know, we don't get an extra row parking or anything like that. So, but over here, they would have parking on the front, because their building's gonna sit right here. So if this should open, now I think the 265 measures to here or to the center, do you remember?
Get to the edge.
To the edge, so that's the measurement to right here. So really kind of taking this drive and kind of shifting it more or less right here. Which just means when you come in now, you have to do something like that. Which just, my experience, and you know, the sooner you give somebody a choice that they have to make, means that they kind of stop and think about it for a second, you know, we eventually backing out of the business right here, and so now the next guy's kind of sitting in his tail laughing, right? Architects do it all the time. As a person with a civil engineering background, I have to always push them a little further to try to have that decision. So not the end of the world if we shift it, I just think it creates a worse traffic flow situation there.
Because if I understand you correctly, you kind of create an S curve,
Yeah.
there are entries off of 4%.
The front of this building is gonna be right here, right? So this center parking wouldn't even quite line up anymore in here, so you come in. Do something like that, if you're going through here, or if you're going back here, so it just creates kind of a weird S turn in there. You know, pushing it all the way over the edge of the property doesn't really work either, because again, we need this kind of common drive, this kind of a service area for this building that's planned over here, so. Again, it can be done, I just think it creates a worse, site situation.
Mine is the 265 mark to the farthest.
He said,
No, sir, it's from the northern edge of Blanco to the southern edge of the driveway.
so from
Your
here
southern edge.
to here.
Yes, sir. And the driveway is 26 feet wide, just for reference.
And so more or less it would shift out.
And you'd have to go in probably what, at least 75, 80 foot and make a curve back to the south, is that what you're saying?
Well, the proposed building is right about here. So you'd have to do something like that, and, I do think. I do think maybe I end up with a situation in this inlet that's out front. If I shift all the way over here, time this radius comes in, when interfering with that existing textile inlet. Which is usually where architects stick it, they usually stick it where there's at least one power pole in the inlet from the way, so I have a problem. But, I think that's another concern, as we're shifting that over, I think I started getting drifting a little bit.
So. Ms. Mayor, may I make a comment on that?
I'm sorry?
May I make a comment on that? Just as a follow-up. So just put this on the context is why I was recommending basically a very direct, violation of the adopted ordinance was. A, the assumption that TxDOT was gonna supersede it anyway, and probably at the time, Mr. Hardy had indicated that TxDOT had given him any feedback on some sort of waiver when I submitted the form originally. B, it is a right in, right out, and so the number of turning movements is greatly reduced. With that pork chop in the full median in the middle, you're not gonna have any crossing traffic, and so That was just another consideration, albeit I still understand that the ordinance is the ordinance, that's something you wanna hold firm to. But from a functional standpoint, as you're looking at where you need to move it to, those are just some objective realities as far as how that driveway is gonna function.
Well, the great thing about this is the way this plat shows you've got 4 exits and entrances already to that piece of property. So the only inconvenience I see would be that exit and entrance way off 47, having to make a sharper curve in order to get back in there, probably creating some difficulties of the traffic coming off the building that's not on the site plan yet, the future development. But you still got all these other exits to get back out without having to go through the inconvenience of making that S curve in front.
Sure, and I'm sure their team could smooth out that curve, smooth out that jog as much as possible, make some adjustments on the remainder site plan if they need to accommodate that, so. As indicated, I don't think it's the end of the world if that just needs to change.
From my perspective, it's pretty simple. We kind of stood our ground. I'm speaking for myself now, but we stood our ground on our ordinances. I'm gonna stand that way and I continue to stand that way. I am in support of the development here. I am not in support of violating our ordinances.
I would agree, I think it's an option that they can sit around, if that be the case, then I'd stand with Matt.
I think I agree as well. You said it's not ideal, but it's doable. There's always the possibility that TxDOT could override us, so you still have that option. I mean, I would rather adhere to our ordinances and let TxDOT make their decision.
Okay, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. Thank you, Michael, appreciate it, and Ryan, thank you for your input. Meeting 7:22, open the public hearing. Shannon, do you have anybody you'd like to speak?
We have one person who signed up, Rudy Garcia.
Name is Rudy Garcia, 9740 Blanco, Lantana. We're not those to the Chipotle, but that's that. The only thing we would ask is that we get some landscape buffer. So y'all's ordinance 14A B, right, compatibility buffer. A landscape buffer shall be located on the site of non-residential use along property lines adjacent to or existing or proposed residential uses or any public street specified by the town, blah, blah, blah. And it gives 3 conditions. One of those is that every property line has landscape. You are busting this up into 2 pieces of property, so now you have 2 property lines. But on that plan, there is no landscape between my house and Chipotle. So you have a fence that's 6 foot tall after 25 feet, but there's no landscape. There is a future promise if they sign the leasing, but there's nothing in there that says they have to do it. There's no landscape. And along Blanco, there are 3 caliber trees, some smaller bushes, but nothing in that meets your chapter 13, which uses the word dense landscape. And I am actually putting up a building in McKinney. I had explained this to the client who asked about the fire marshal having opinions on stacking paper pallets next to each other, so we had high density. What I told her is most of our ordinances are there because somebody has died, somebody's got injured, and that's why we stand on those. So the promise of 407 and new drive-throughs, I'm glad you brought that up. Because people get hurt and we try to figure it out ourselves. I only had 2 minutes and the timer wasn't going, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Shannon, anybody else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Time being 7:24, close the public hearing. Back to our discussion. Jeremy, would we so we need to do a motion for the site plan first.
Yes.
We recommend amending the site plan to increase the frontage from 265 to 300. How would,
Yeah, so, I mean, legally, that could be a condition that you place on it. I'm just not sure practically if that's something that could be changed after the fact, or if they should just come back and submit a site plan.
Yeah, so what we've done in the other conditions of approval that warrant a change to the site plan is that change is made and then it's submitted back to the town for staff review. Because they're more like just ministerial changes, it's not really a discretionary process at that point, they're following the rules that you guys set for them in those conditions, so that would be my recommendation in the process. Not having to bring it back to town council simply to verify those conditions have been met, the professional staff can take care of that. One thing about Mr. Mayor,
No, I was just thinking about the motion, so we'd make a motion to, is that what you're talking about, or condition?
Oh, yeah, so
Make a motion
the
to-
motion would include an additional, it'll be the motion on the site plan.
Okay,
To include an additional condition requiring that the driveway on 407 be moved to at least 300 feet. Now, one functional thing about that is there is an inlet indicated on the site plan, which probably will at least interfere with the taper on the driveway. You see that little inlet on the, going down to 407, that little, and then go to the left, right there. That's a stormwater inlet.
Yeah.
And so that will have a functional impedance on that driveway. So my recommendation, because that's just a physical barrier to site, perhaps the end of the taper can go up to that inlet. But if you move it a true 300 feet, I believe that you would have to go in and move the inlet on 407, which would be a significant undertaking and something that TxDOT might not even want them to do.
or could you move past it, past the end?
Well, given the size of the taper, I'm not an engineer, I'm making some speculation here, but looking at it, the inlet's basically right in the middle of where that driveway would be if you moved it all the way to the northern end of the property, which is to the left. So I would expect that under the existing conditions, moving as far to the north or to the left as possible, while not impacting that stormwater inlet, would probably be the most viable option for meeting the code as closely as possible. And I think maybe you would be just a few feet off, but again, you'd be limited by the physical conditions on the ground.
So what are we talking about? That inlet is 295 feet or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And because if that 265 distance was to the south part of that road, that inlet is within probably 8 or 10 foot of that. And if that's the case, if the road moves further north, it should be right there on the edge,
I'd say the inlet is about 25 feet from the edge of the taper
right?
on the driveway.
Okay.
So basically you're moving the whole driveway about 25 feet, so you're at 290.
Yeah, to the north.
No.
Did you want to say something?
I think Brian's correct. I don't know if we get to the 300, if we start this curve turn right here. But it probably does get us to 290 or 295 or something, gets us, cuts down 20 or 20 to 35 feet or so. And, it's one of those, if you get one of these and it's in the middle of your driveway, it's not a big issue. You take it out, you convert it to some grates. If we get in those curvy turns, that it gets a little funky, a little harder to deal with.
Thank you.
You want, how many room have you, Brian's left?
Any further discussions?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to stick with the 300, but I understand there's a physical limitation there, physical barriers, if you will.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on this until I can answer, right, is that the ordinance says 300, I would challenge that we grant the condition with the additional condition of 300 feet in accordance with our town ordinances, and if it comes back that there's a physical limitation that prevents us from adhering to that, I'd be willing to have a discussion, but right now it's conjecture on the page.
I think I agree with that, so.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Hang on, around the 6.
It's just one other consideration, and to your point, actually, the driveway apron indicated here is not what the design's ultimately gonna be, because as you recall, one of the conditions on the site plan is a right-in, right-out pork chop, which makes for a wider apron with an island in the middle, so even if you move it up, then the widening is gonna kind of push it back down, so if you wanna put that 300 minimum requirement, it's gonna have to be worked out with TxDOT anyway, so I think it's not a done deal with other, but you're standing firm on the adopted standard and kind of start from there.
Okay.
Ready to add anything around authorizing authorize the town to act on this once it comes back, and then bring it back to town.
I think that's part of if they're able to meet the minimum requirements, then staff already has that authority.
They have their bit.
So I'll make a motion to site plan to approve with the existing conditions and the additional condition of adherence to the 300-foot requirement between the drives in accordance with our town ordinances.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We have number 2 for the CUP. We have a motion for the CUP as it stands.
Yes, I'll make a motion for the CUP as presented.
Have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Number 2, discuss and consider ordinance amending chapter 8, offensive and nuisance, to add a new article 8.06, adopting regulations relating to the operations of helicopter capture the carrying aircraft within the town border limits and providing the effective date. Staff presentation.
Mayor and council, good evening. Over the past several months, the town has received some complaints regarding the helicopter operations within the town limits. In response, staff researched available regulation options and reviewed ordinances adopted by neighboring communities. One of those, Double O, which recently addressed a similar concern related to private operating helicopters within their residence. Based on the research, staff has prepared a draft ordinance that would amend chapter 8 of the town code to regulate non-emergency helicopters landing and operating within the town. The purpose of the ordinance is to protect health, safety, and the welfare of residents while addressing these concerns related to noise, safety of the helicopters operating in residential areas. This will be only for non-emergency. If it's just, what we talk, your care flight, things of that nature, those will still be allowed in this ordinance. It's just for personal use. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion.
Well, I think it's good. We're getting more people moving out here. We have some large properties. The 10, 30 acre properties for some people. Pilots live out here.
And just for reference, the chief and I were actually driving around talking about helicopters, and we had one, buzzed right over us at Hudson Hills. I'm talking right over us, landed in a field. We had a resident come out that was very upset, and we basically had to keep him from getting close to the young man that was a pilot. So we witnessed this, and we want to prevent those kind of things. So he was definitely in violation of whatever ceilings they have or a flight plan. So that was when he and I both witnessed about a month or so ago.
Well, by adopting this proposed ordinance, would be consistent with what Double Oak's doing. I think Copper Canyon has done.
Yes, the Copper Canyon just did those, and several other towns next to us, Louisville and Flower Mound, they have similar ordinances. There are ordinances probably throughout the metroplex like this. It's not unique just to Bartonville.
Does it prevent the landing of any emergency aircraft, or in the other way to say it, other aircraft experiencing an emergency would still be able to utilize? Because there is an emergency airfield by the fire department, so some of those are marked as emergency opportunities for an aircraft.
Yes, sir, that would not prevent them from landing.
Yeah.
And I think we continue to take a proactive approach on this, to ward off something that we know is probably gonna come, especially with the large attraction we have now with wildlife and horses and cattle. And we got no prior that we've had that problem in the past, with helicopters flying low and animals being just frightening because of communities. I think what we need to do is address the problem out of what
Very
happens.
Have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance amending chapter 8 offenses and businesses to add new article 8.06, adopting regulations relating to the operations of helicopters and passenger carrying aircraft within the town's corporate limits as presented.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Kurt. Number 3, discuss and provide direction on town council priorities related to the 2026-2027 budget. Kurt?
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose is to provide council direction on priorities for the upcoming fiscal budget, which will guide staff in preparing proposed budget for council review. One of our top priorities is obviously public safety. You want to have a safe town, we want to make sure our roads are, patrolled well, and that's one of those main things we'll use, maintaining a strong presence, which the chief has been doing. I did as well, by the way. Sorry, chief, I had to throw that in there. And then traffic enforcement, as we have a lot, that's our main complaint. And they do a great job sitting out there doing compliant, and you don't want to speed in Bartonville, trust me.
No.
It's hard to, the chief said it's hard to find some, people speeding out here. Anyway, and to continue also this effort on low crime, high visibility is definitely, reducing our crime rate. Fiscal stability, financial stability, I'm sorry, preserve and strengthen our reserve fund balance, as Shannon mentioned, in her report. Currently, we're at 885,000, our reserve as our goal. We've talked about at 1 million, so we're looking pretty good there. Continue to work on that. Maintain the current, property tax at 17 cents. As long as we, financially can do that, we want to continue to do that low rate, and we're looking pretty good, as we also mentioned in our, financial report. The ad valorem tax has us at right at about 134,000 over our budget, which is nice. Infrastructure maintenance, one of our top priorities, you all know, we got phase 3 going on right now on, East Jeter. We want to continue to do that. I want to mention that we did put in for a $5 million road grant, that if we get it, we would only have to do a 5% match, which is $250,000. But $5 million would definitely help us. As we all know, phase 3, if we've done 1, 2, and 3, there's a 4 coming up, and there's a 5 coming up. So we definitely want to look at Jeter's one of our main thoroughfares. So that's one of our goals, and I think everyone here will agree. We continue to get our taxes on the streets, and we do have, every year we budget $250,000 for maintenance. But along with the other maintenance we're looking at is obviously our tree trimming maintenance. We do that annually, usually at least once a year, sometimes twice. We want to continue to do that. And then also one of the ones we want to bring up this year is technology and communication. Our Chromebooks are ready to be replaced, and that's something we'd like to budget for. Also, we want to do a new audio and visual, do a little better quality, so the viewers can have a better quality of these meetings that are so important. Staff request council's guidance on additional areas of focus, strategy priorities, capital projects, operational needs, or service enhancement that you consider that you think we may need to look into. So that is pretty much what I'd like to just present today. And
So the max that we get for roads every year is about 250, right? For tax.
we bring in about 500, about $500,000 in, for about 500 for, that's what we bring in on that. I think it's an eighth of tax.
Okay.
But we budget every year half of that, $250,000 for maintenance. Just like you noticed, we did some overlays and some other things. That's the maintenance that we budget every year. However, we bring in $500,000. So you're looking at, we're spending half of that. It's going to be very difficult to get to another million, as we know.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do some fancy, fancy budgeting to be able to do from McMake, on Jeter Road, McMake to Porter. We're looking at probably 1.5 to 2 million, something like that. And if we're only getting 100,000 a year, we're gonna have to, I don't know,
Gotta do that on the far side of West Jeter.
at some point, but there's a lot less traffic over there than there is here. I mean,
Okay.
3,000 cars a day out here, but you're right, yeah. We've got plenty of needs for roads, we just don't have the funds.
Hopefully the $5 million will come through.
Is that grant?
Yeah, when would you find that?
Well, I actually just sent another email out today at where the status is. Actually, the mayor, and Shannon, we had all put in with the application when we did this back in March. So it's been almost 3 months. I reached out, said, hey, where are we at? Fingers crossed, that'd be awesome to get the $5 million. Obviously, that would be huge for us to be able to do those kind of things. Jeter, West Jeter, East Jeter. So I will keep you all posted. I sent out an email earlier this morning to check to see if I got a reply before tonight. I did not. So anyway, just to let you know, we are trying to look at different ways to make sure we do the infrastructure, because as we know, that's something that's gonna continue to have to happen 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, and we just wanna be proactive and making sure that we do that for the town and the residents.
Any other ideas on priorities?
We've done a lot of capital improvements to this building.
Yeah, we were talking about that tonight. We pretty much caught up on the.
Only thing I recommend for this building is we need to improve ingress or access, car key to get in. But
Door.
yeah, that app, mine hasn't worked in over a week.
Yeah.
You get called to update it,
My
but
little thing works sometimes and you need sometimes.
just to upgrade it. So
And I don't disagree, Councilman, thanks for bringing that, that was very, it was a low bid, I'll just say that, and it was installed by our folks. It served a purpose, but is it the best quality? No, sir, and we can look at it.
I would upgrade it a little.
We can upgrade it a little bit, we can go from.
I'm watching 100% of the time.
Oh, but as far as I mean, we cover our safety, we cover the roads, those are the most big and important.
Well, I think your last item you have down in the bottom with the technology and communications, that's one of my priorities. Because what I hear from most citizens is that when they try and watch it, they, the voice
Yeah.
can't understand it, and some citizens here, once they're sitting in the back as well, so it depends upon, we can do a better job, it's just getting the right equipment in here.
Yeah, that pinging sound we all hear, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
there've been a
couple of videos I've tried to watch and it's just, it's horrible, can't understand it.
Yeah, I think that to no surprise, Kirk and team, you guys have done a great job of capturing the priorities that we want to focus on, so I don't think there's anything I have to add.
Thank you.
So we need to do a motion? No, okay.
No.
Number 4, discuss and consider amending town hall hours of operation.
Mayor, council, back in August of 2025, this was brought to you and approved for a pilot program. I would like to bring it back up, and my recommendation or staff recommendation is modifying my town hall hours from Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 5 p.m. and Friday, 8 to noon. Friday afternoons experience minimum walk-in traffic, and the revised schedule would provide staff dedicated time for administrative work, project completions, training, and records management, while expanding public safety, public hours, 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the afternoon. Just today, we were going over our discovery workshop with our new software we're looking at for permits. And we got interrupted like 4 different times. So this would allow us to have training on a Friday. We can train from 12 to 1 or whatever and not be interrupted. It also will give Sherry opportunity to do some work. She's a court clerk, she's up front. She gets disturbed a lot. This will give her time to catch up if we change these hours. And just to know, and y'all are aware of this, when we were shorthanded, we had to move our hour to, we closed at 3. We didn't get any complaints that I remember. If we did, I don't know if y'all received any or not. So, and this isn't uncommon in your packet. Put it in here. There's several agencies that close on Fridays. You had Hickory Creek, Farmers Branch, Keller, and then there's several others that, from 7:30 to 11:30, and then some from 8 to 12. And that, I believe this will get us, allow us to be a little more efficient, work some different ways. But just so you'll know, this is only gonna be for, thank you, Mayor, I know you're getting ready to ask me that. This is for Sherry and Kat. Shannon and I will still be working our regular hours. So this is just for them to allow them to, and us to do some things combined together.
Yeah, to lock the front door.
Yeah,
basically.
just let us do
Yeah, so
some.
Sherry's gonna be here most of the time too, at least until 4 or 5.
Well, if I'm reading this correctly, this is actually adding an extra hour,
Yeah.
4 days a week,
Yes,
as opposed to what we have right now. So,
yes, they're still working their 40 hours.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, no, I'm just talking about.
Oh,
Office hours.
yeah, we're adding hours, yes, we're adding more time, sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that, what
no.
you say, yes, sir. It is adding more time to You know, it's just,
Town hall hours are
Yeah.
we expanded 4 days a week.
I'll be happy to answer any other questions, if anybody has any other comments, just appreciate y'all's consideration.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Do we need a motion? No? Oh, okay. Sounds good. Ron, I would like to welcome you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Your presentations are great as usual. I know you're a huge help for staff.
It's very nice to be back. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any future agenda items? Just a reminder that our meeting, the next meeting is Tuesday, July the 14th. That'll be budget workshop, 6 o'clock. Before our meeting. Time being, 6 o'clock for everybody. I think it's July and August that we start at 6, is that right? Okay.
That's what I can find out.
Yeah. And then you have to get you to the start, then, right? Yeah.
I did it twice, but make sure I
Yeah.
was missing.
So time being set, 6 meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.